Hey guys, welcome back. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over the Mavericks and their offseason plans, their roster, salary, all that kind of stuff. So make sure to leave a like and comment what team you'd like to see me do next. Hopefully, I can get to maybe not all 30, but mainly a lot of the big teams or teams that have some more interesting off seasons. So let's get right into this one. So the Mavericks are going to have a very interesting and important offseason this year. Obviously, trading Luka Doncic, very stupid, dumbest trade of my entire life. But we move on. Getting Cooper Flagg is the first thing I want to talk about with this roster. So there's been a lot of talk about potentially trading Cooper Flagg. Do they keep the pick? Do they draft him? I think it would be utterly foolish to trade Cooper Flagg. I think he has legitimate top 10, top 5 superstar potential. I think you'd be dumb to trade a guy like that, especially because he is going to be on a very team friendly contract for the next 4 years, as I have laid out here. I'm not going to get into what I think about Cooper Flagg. I might make a video later going over just my overall thoughts on him as a player. Just know I think he's really good. He can do a lot of different things. Next thing, this is the Mavericks cap sheet for this offseason. It isn't the most in depth one. You can look up some more if you want to really get the nitty gritty of every last dollar, but all you need to know adds up to 195.1 million, which is just 4.8 was just 800,000 under the first apron and just 12 million under the second apron, which we can be over the first apron. We cannot be over the second apron. So that's going to be one of the things that I think the Mavericks need to look to do this offseason. Stay under that second apron. So this is the roster. Obviously, Anthony Davis, you know, can he stay healthy? Do we like him as the number one option? No, and maybe. But 54.1. Kyrie Irving is on a player option. I expect him to get extended this offseason, but I don't know what the value of that contract is going to be at. I would expect right around this same number. For now, I'm just going to keep this as a player option, 43.9 million. Expect him though to decline this and re-sign on another 3-year contract, probably around the same money, maybe a little bit less if the Mavericks want more flexibility. Then we get to Klay Thompson, 16.62 years. Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington. These are two guys who it's interesting because I love both of them as a Mavericks fan. I love Gafford, I love PJ. They're awesome. They were great trade additions, but they're on expiring contracts. And this is already a very expensive team. Cooper Flagg will add 13.9. I'm not accounting for that right now in this number because he's not on the team, but just kind of think about 195 plus that number that Cooper Flagg is going to get is going to be over the second apron. So we'll get to that with you. Talk about some trades. But what do you do with Gafford and PJ? Well, I think for Pete, you want to go to both of them in these next couple of weeks and ask them, hey, what do you want in terms of a contract? Do you guys want 20, 18, same value? And you go and you can see if you can extend both of them or get the values for both. I'm guessing that Gafford, who wants starting caliber money, who wants to be a starting center, which he should be, he's pretty good, you're probably not going to be able to keep. Right? I don't think it's worth it to pay your third best center 20 million a year. And he is your third best center. Anthony Davis is a center. He's going to play power forward for you next season, but I think he's going to play a lot of 5, and then obviously Derek Lively is really good. Does that mean you have to trade Gafford? No, but I just think it doesn't make sense for him to be on the team long term. Now, PJ, before the Cooper Flagg, getting Cooper Flagg, obviously there would be no reason to trade him. Now that you have Cooper Flagg, though, it doesn't really make too much sense to keep him around long term, but I would still say you should keep him. I mean, he's amazing. He's so versatile. He does so many different things. Can play really 3 through 5, can shoot, can dribble, can post up sometimes, and then defensively can really guard a variety of positions at a high level. He's in that Aaron Gordon, Pascal Siakam archetype. Not as good as those guys, but that type of archetype. And I think you should bring him back, even if it is in a sixth man role. I just really like him. Then you get to Caleb Martin, Najee Marshall, Max Christie. These 3 guys, I would say Najee's pretty safe. I really think that Najee gives them something you don't have on the roster, which is a guy who can really create and attack off the dribble and pass a little bit, and then obviously give you that point of attack defense that you're really missing outside of Najee and Caleb Martin and Christie. So I think Najee's safe. Caleb Martin, it's tough. They traded him for Quentin Grimes, which is not a good trade. But the reason that they made that trade, I think, made sense, and that is the fact that, hey, Quentin Grimes is about to get a big contract, and you probably were not going to be able to afford him. And Caleb Martin is on a $9.5 million contract, about $10 million for the next three seasons. Very cost controlled, very easy. So I think that there's a pretty good chance he gets traded, but at the same time, if you don't, it's whatever. And then Max Christie, I'd expect him to stay. He's young, very cheap contract, and you go into next season and say, hey, can you show us something? If not, we can trade you. You're cheap, you're young, whatever. And yeah, that's those next three. So Jaden Hardy, whatever. I'm out on Jaden Hardy. I've been out on him. He's got some upside. I just don't think it's on the Mavericks. I'd expect him. I don't think maybe he gets traded, maybe he doesn't, but Derek Lively. I think Derek Lively is supremely important. He's only 21 years old. He's really good. I mean, he was probably the third best player on a team that made it to the NBA Finals. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I just love Derek Lively. He does so many things. He's so versatile as a 7-footer. And I think that him and Cooper Flagg should be your front court of the future. The only thing with me is his health. And that is the one reason you would maybe be like, let's keep Gafford. Hey, Derek Lively might be hurt. Might get hurt too much. Then you got Dwight Powell, 4 million player option. Expect him to pick that up. He's been here for a decade. Let's keep it going. And then Olivier Maxence Prosper has done next to nothing in his first 2 seasons. I was an Omax believer, someone who did believe in the upside. He just hasn't really done it. And on a team that has so many wings, he doesn't make sense. And then Brandon Williams was a big surprise last year to end the season. Had some really good games, averaged like 17 in the month of March. I think, and at his value, like I'm not really factoring him in my plans for this offseason in terms of I'm not going to trade for a point guard because I have Brandon Williams, but I do think he's someone that, hey, could he keep that play up and be a big part? Yeah. And then obviously Cooper Flagg is going to be on the team. They're not going to trade the draft pick. I think it's incredibly stupid. And the problem for the Mavs is not even that I think that trading number 1 pick for Giannis would be a horrible idea. My problem is getting to that number, right? You're having to trade probably Gafford, PJ, Clay, Caleb Martin. And at that point, yeah, you're getting Giannis, but you're gutting your roster. You're gutting your roster to get to him. And I just think Cooper Flagg, I think there's a realistic world where he could be as good as Giannis or be at that same tier, and you just get him on the team. It gives you this runway now that you had with Luka that you got rid of for some reason. But don't trade Cooper, add him to the roster. So what are the big team needs that we got to look to improve for this team? I think it's pretty simple. They need creation is the biggest one. They need people on the roster that can dribble and can create for others, specifically at the guard position. You look at this team, I mean, there might not be a team with better wing depth than the Dallas Mavericks, right? Anthony Davis, technically, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Caleb Martin, Najee Marshall, Max Christie, Max, right? There's so much wing depth, and Cooper Flagg. But the guards, it's like Jaden Hardy and Brandon Williams that are true guards. And yes, Kyrie Irving, but Kyrie's not going to play until at best like the All-Star break. So you're going to have to get through the first 4 months of the season without Kyrie. So you're going to need point guards. Number 2 is 3-point shooting. I mean, outside of Klay Thompson, who else on this team is like a above league average shooter? No one. It's the reason I think he is vitally important to what they do going forward is they need people that can shoot. It's that simple. So I think Klay is safe. And then the third one is point of attack defense. I think this is more of a concern for me. If you trade Najee Marshall or Caleb Martin and PJ Watt. Like if you trade PJ and Caleb Martin in a trade, that becomes an issue. But as the roster currently stands, I think that Caleb Martin, Najee Marshall, and Max Christie all can do a good enough job on small guards. And then in terms of guarding wings, I mean, you're good. PJ, Caleb Martin, Cooper Flagg, Najee, Christie, like I think you'll be good, and then obviously your interior defense is just the best in the league. Not only with your three bigs, but also having Cooper Flagg and PJ Washington, eh, both great wing rim protectors, and specifically Cooper Flagg. I mean, he might be the best wing rim protector in the league year one. So that is the roster and the biggest team needs. I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds about, you know, each one of these guys. But just know it's a good roster. There's a lot of talent, but it's got to get shuffled, in my opinion. They got to suck from the bigs and the wings and supplement the guards. If they can do that, I do think your roster is really good. Let's get into now. This is the depth chart I have for no trades. Again, that starting lineup: Kyrie, Clay, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively. Again, without Cooper Flagg, is fine. It's solid. You know, is it a championship contender? No. Obviously, adding Cooper Flagg, it's better, but I do think that this starting lineup's just a little to me. Now, if this is Cooper Flagg and your bench is different, then I feel differently. But let's get into now the part that I think most people are going to be excited about, which is going to be the trade targets. Because obviously, that's what this video is about. You know about these players, you know about these contracts in the first and second apron. Let's get into the trade targets. So my three biggest trade targets are Lonzo Ball, Drew Holiday, and Kobe White. Now there are more guys: Anthony Simons, Cole Anthony, Derek White, maybe. But these are the three most not three most likely, but the three that I feel like make the most sense. So starting with Lonzo, the reasons for Lonzo. He can play next to Kyrie Irving. And Lonzo and Drew have both been mentioned by Mark Stein and others as guys who the Mavericks are interested in. What Lonzo brings when healthy is a guy who can shoot the ball at a pretty high level on high volume, can create a little bit for himself and can be a good passer, and then be a good versatile defender who can guard 1 through 3. He's 6'6", and he can play alongside Kyrie Irving. And I think that's something they're going to look for, is in a trade, get a guy who not only can, in this depth chart right here, start instead of Kyrie, but then when Kyrie comes back, slot in at the 2 and play next to Kyrie. And that's what all three of these trade targets accomplish. Three guys who can play in this position at point guard and then also play at the 2 next to Kyrie. The problems with Lonzo are I'm so if the Bulls really want to trade him. And the injuries for me. Like, is he still that level of defender? Is he still that level of shooter? And can he stay healthy? I don't know. In terms of the trades themselves, I have a couple Lonzo trades. I have 2 Lonzo trades. I do think there are 2 pretty realistic scenarios for Lonzo. This first one is a Daniel Gafford trade. So, in this scenario, the Bulls, and this is reported, that they want to trade Nikola Vucevic. They don't want Vooch. They're out on Vooch. And in this scenario, they trade Vooch, but they still want to have a center. So, they know the Mavericks, hey, Gafford, he's our third string guy. We don't want to pay him. And in this scenario, you get Lonzo Ball, who the Mavs want, and you get a 2027 first-round draft pick. Now, would the Bulls trade a 2027 first for to get Gafford? I'm not so sure. I think you could amend this trade to maybe a more future draft pick, or maybe it's just like 3 seconds. But the reason I think that I'd want to do this is the Mavs do have a 2026 first. They have a pick swap in 28. They have the Lakers first in 2029. Pick swap in 2030. They do not have any first round pick in 2027, pick swap or otherwise. And I'm just a little iffy on that, right? Because you got some old injury prone dudes as your best players. So I do think that this would make sense. Adding a guy like Lonzo, who is he really a point guard? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's a point guard, but he certainly can play next to Kyrie Irving when Kyrie returns, and he just gives you a lot of what you need: point of attack defense, playmaking, shooting. The problem for me though is he gets hurt a lot, but his contract is really easy. It's just a 2-year deal. That first year, just $10 million. Second year is also only $10 million. That second year has a team option. So if it doesn't work out, you can exercise or not exercise that team option, let him walk, and you get off money. You also in this trade save $4.3 million, which would keep you under that second apron. So a good trade, I think. I like it. The next Lonzo trade is a bit more of a confusing trade, and this would be a we really don't want to trade, or we don't want to trade Gafford. Like we want to keep Gafford, and maybe we have a trade lined up with the Lakers for Daniel Gafford. Like we're gonna send Gafford elsewhere. Um, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna trade Jaden Hardy and Olivier Maxence Prosper to the Bulls, and maybe the Bulls like Omax and Jaden Hardy. They're young, they're fine. Now I actually have to amend this trade real quick to make this um, actually work. Um, there we go. Now it works. Um, and Lonzo, we have so many guards. We just extended him to trade him, and we'll send the 45th pick. Whatever. Maybe they don't even send that pick. The Mavs then are going to send Caleb Martin to dump salary. Hey, we need to get off money. We need to get flexibility, and we'll trade a second. We'll trade Caleb Martin, and then they'll get Julian Phillips because under the new CBA, if you're a first apron team and you trade one player or two player, you aggregate salaries for one guy that hard caps you at the first apron. So the Mavericks, and really any trade that's going to keep them above the first apron, need to also get another player, which kind of makes it a little bit harder to get off money. But again, this trade's a lot more complex. Trading Caleb Martin as well. I don't know. I don't know about this one. I don't know if I would love this, but if you already have a Gafford trade lined up elsewhere, I wouldn't hate it. I like Lonzo. He's my number one option. I just think he's the easiest to get to. Now, Drew Holiday. I have a Drew Holiday trade cooked up. I'm pretty proud of this Drew Holiday trade. It's a crazy Drew Holiday trade. And I don't love Drew Holiday. Let me get it right off the bat. I don't love Drew Holiday for the Mavericks. I think that his contract is terrible. And to trade for him, you're going to have to trade PJ and Gafford. And this one, and Caleb Martin. I just think he looked a step slow last season. He looked a step slow. His defense started to fall off, started to taper a little bit. And his offense is just very limited at this point, right? He's mainly an off the ball player. If Kyrie Irving was healthy, and you knew for a 100% fact he was healthy in October, he did not tear his ACL, then I would be more on board for Drew, because it's pretty easy. He just slots in at the 2. And I do think a starting lineup of Kyrie Irving, Drew Holiday, Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively is really good. It's really, really good. But my problem is, I don't think Drew can be your point guard until then. So it doesn't really make sense to trade for him. And then his contract is awful. He has 3 years left with a player option, and you have your other 2 stars are really old. Like if this was the Luka Kyrie era, which makes me sad to say, but if you still had Luka, okay, you're going all in on Luka and Kyrie. Maybe you make this trade this offseason, and like you lost to OKC in the Western Conference Finals. You lost again in the finals, and it was like, dude, we have to make a drastic change. I'd do something like this. But I don't know. I'm just not very in on Drew. Now, this framework is the only way I would be in on Drew, and that is we're trading PJ, Caleb Martin, Daniel Gafford, but we're getting back draft picks. So we're getting back the 28th pick, which Walter Clayton maybe. You draft someone at 28. You get the 2027 pick, as I said with the Bulls. We don't have our 27 pick, so you got to get a 27 pick if possible. And then you get this pick swap the Lakers, which I think is very intriguing. I think it's very intriguing to get a pick swap back in 2030 to the Lakers because they are a team that, if Luka leaves, like that pick becomes incredibly valuable. Um, I don't think Drew's a positive asset. I think the Celtics are going to have to attach draft picks to trade him, especially because, from the Celtics' point of view here, they're getting back PJ Washington, who's a good player on an expiring, and they're getting back Gabe Vincent, who isn't expiring, right? They get a 6.7 this year. This is more of, hey, this season is whatever. Let's just, for the future, get more flexible. I think they do this. The Nets, they take Caleb Martin and they get a couple of second round picks. I also think they do this. And then the Lakers get Daniel Gafford. I think they do this, right? I'm just not that in on Drew. I'm just not. This is the only way I would do it because you do this trade all of a sudden, like, you honestly have a good amount of draft picks and you can make future trades. But at the same time, I'm iffy on it. The final target I have here is Kobe White. I don't think it's very likely. This is the Kobe White trade I have. I just don't think it's likely. I think that, yeah, the Bulls have a logjam at guard, but it feels a lot easier to, like, trade Ayo and Lonzo than to trade Kobe. Like, Kobe White is younger than those guys. He's better than those guys. And I think he fits pretty naturally with Giddey at the 2. But if they were willing to trade him, I do think this makes sense. For the Mavs, you're giving up Jaden Hardy and Daniel Gafford. You're trading this Lakers pick a second. Lakers send a pick swap to the Bulls. Bulls get Jaden Hardy and Gabe Vincent. Mavs get Kobe White. They get off a bunch of money. Like, this trade would be a home run, but I heavily doubt they're trading Kobe White. He's good, man. He's really good. The final trade, and this one was not on my top 3 trade targets because I didn't know. Is this one? Man, if you would have told me that pre-playoffs, if you would have told me pre-playoffs that the Cavs are going to be looking to reset their roster, I would have called you crazy. Straight up. Would have called you a madman. But now, I really wouldn't be shocked if Jared Allen gets traded. So, this is the trade I cooked up. This is an Austin Reeves to the Mavericks trade. Jared Allen to the Lakers. I don't think this is likely. This is more of a trying to read between the tea leaves, and let's just get a trade in for one more trade that I wanted to show off. The Mavericks getting Austin Reeves would be a massive home run. I love Austin Reeves. I think he is super good. A really good second option. And yeah, you're going to have to pay him. And that's the one thing with Austin Reeves. But you're trading PJ in this mock. And you could probably just let Gafford walk in the offseason. And, like, yeah, you'd be incredibly expensive. But let's say you let Gafford walk. That's negative 14. Cooper comes in. Yeah, maybe you have to dump Caleb Martin. And maybe you dump Caleb Martin anyway this offseason, right? And you're just able to free up some money. I think it's possible to re-sign him at about $30 million. And maybe let Kyrie walk if you get Austin Reeves. I don't think this is very likely. Just a fun trade. If the Cavs really wanted to trade Jared Allen, I think it's more likely that the Cavs and Lakers would just trade straight up. Like, it'd be more likely if the Lakers just said, hey, we'll give you, Rui and draft capital for Jared Allen than this, but it's an interesting trade. Those are my trade targets. All of them pretty similar. All of them fill the same role. Next is going to be my free agent. So I have 3: Chris Paul, Tyus Jones, Dennis Schroeder. I'll get these done a little bit quicker to wrap up this video, but Chris Paul's my number 1. The Mavs are negative odds to get him. That doesn't mean much. There's a lot of smoke, and where there is smoke, there is fire. I think the Mavs are going to be very interested in Chris Paul. I think he is the best possible target they could get between trade and free agency. Because I think he brings so much of what they need. Talk about a guy who last season averaged like 9 and 9, played and started all 82 games. Is incredible. He's still a really big positive. Like, I think he was +8 in his minutes, which is super valuable. He's really good still. And he's exactly what you need. He's a guy who can start a point guard, be a facilitator, run your offense. Because I do think the Mavs have a lot of scorers. Like Kyrie Irving, B. Will, Clay, PJ, Coop, Davis, Lively, and Gafford all can score. They just can't create for themselves as effectively outside of AD. Chris Paul absolutely can create those opportunities. And then when Kyrie comes back, he just leads your second unit, and it's really simple. Now, they can't play next to each other, but that's okay, right? My things with it is, would he be willing to take a vet minimum? He just got paid $10 million last year, and there are teams that have cap room that I think would be willing to pay him more, and even teams that maybe have the taxpayer mid-level exception. The reason Chris Paul would be a Maverick is pretty simple. He can start, and there's not many places he can start. Like, he can go to the Lakers and be a backup. He can go to the Clippers and be a backup. He can go to the Celtics and be a backup. He can start for the Mavericks and for months be a big part of their team before Kyrie. Even when Kyrie comes back, like, you look at this depth chart. Like, he's better than Brandon Williams. Like, he's gonna play. So, would he want to come to Dallas? Maybe. If he is willing to take a minimum, he's the best option. And then Tyus Jones, a lot of the same stuff I said with Chris Paul in terms of, like, this is a guy who can create for others, can shoot, but there's a stench. There is a stench, and it might just be the Phoenix Suns, but there is a stench on Tyus Jones, oof, that I am not a fan of in the slightest. His defense is atrocious. Where I think Chris Paul is like a bad defender, small, old, not that good. Tyus Jones last year was a travesty defensively. Ask any Suns fans. Watch any Suns game. He was a travesty. And for a team that is so good defensively, the worst thing you can do is give teams an easy in to attack your defense, which is what Tyus Jones is. And like Chris Paul is too, but it's different. Like Chris Paul is smart. Tyus Jones is not. And the final one is Dennis Schroeder. I really like Dennis Schroeder. I don't think it's likely. I think the only way they could get him is if they got off significant money. And that just feels unlikely. I think the way that would happen is like some sort of just straight up dumping Caleb Martin and Jaden Hardy. Let's do this again. Like, where like, and maybe they like Jaden Hardy and they're willing to just take, like, you get off $13 million in salary, and now, yeah, you add Cooper, but you still have room under the first apron. You would have to get off so much money because you have to draft Cooper. You have to keep thinking, hey, there's gonna be $14 extra million. I don't think it's likely, but I love Dennis Schroeder. He's good on both ends. The final names I'm gonna name are guys that were on the team last year: Spencer Dinwiddie and Dante Exum. If Dante Exum could stay healthy, it's perfect. Like, he is perfect for what they need. You look at him and, man, he's exactly what they need. Right? He's a bigger guard. He can play defense. He can shoot. He can create for himself. He can get shots for others. But he just cannot stay healthy. And that's the problem. Spencer Dinwiddie, I really like, but he is just not a point guard. Like, he is not a point guard at all. He is a two guard. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I would like to bring back Exum, but I don't think that should be their offseason. If their offseason is bringing back Dante Exum, then that's a terrible offseason. You're done. Like, you're cooked next year. Because, yeah, when Kyrie's back, it looks good, but without Kyrie, I mean, you're done for. What I think the most likely outcome is trading for Lonzo and then signing some free agent point guard. I think my best outcome is getting Lonzo and Chris Paul, because that's your starting backcourt without Kyrie. Let's start Chris Paul, let's start Lonzo. That gives us a good amount of playmaking and defense, because Lonzo can be a point of attack guy with Cooper, with AD, with Derek Lively. Our bench in that scenario, it would depend on whether you do the Gafford for Lonzo trade. I think the more likely trade, though, would be Jane Hardy and Omax. You would still have a lineup of Chris Paul, Lonzo, Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively. Your bench, let's say they bring back Exum, or let's say Brandon Williams. Let's say it's Brandon Williams, Klay Thompson, / Max Christie / Najee Marshall, Najee, PJ, Gafford. I really like that. Now, you kind of have too many players, and that's where I do think that trading Gafford makes more sense than doing this. By the way, Caleb Martin isn't even in the top 10 of the rotation in this roster right now. That's how deep they are. So I think trading Gafford makes way more sense. And maybe Brandon Williams is out of the rotation in this scenario. Trading Gafford makes more sense to me. Because then your bottom five, your bench five would be probably, let's just say Najee Marshall's technically your backup point guard. Let's say it's Najee Marshall, Klay Thompson, Max Christie, Caleb Martin / PJ Washington, and then Anthony Davis. I like that lineup. But that's gonna do it for this video. A lot of stuff I talked about here. A lot of different expectations and trade targets, free agent targets. I'm very cautiously excited about this season, mainly because of one guy, and it's the main event. But hope you guys enjoyed. Again, like the video, subscribe to this channel, and again, comment what team you would like to see me do next. I'm planning on doing the Lakers next. Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, and then after that, any team you comment, I'll probably try to get to. Again, I'll do research. I'll try to learn more about these teams. And I feel like for most teams, I can give you a pretty good explanation. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you later.